Hello, everybody, and welcome to another inspiring conversation with me, Claire Westwood. I'm the Chief Creative Maverick, here to activate luminaries all around the world to live their full purpose and be fully expressed in the world. And today I have the wonderful Kara with me. And Kara and I met on social media, like you do. I don't know how we initially connected with each other, probably around the word play, I imagine. And I did an online workshop. Was it a couple of years ago now, maybe? And one of the prizes for people attending was to win a coaching session with Kara, and I won the coaching session, so we had that as well. So it's been a beautiful thing, and there's a lot of links between kind of how we look at the world and the fact that we enjoy going through the world of play to get there. So that's some of what we're going to talk about today. So thank you for joining me, Kara. It's really lovely to see you again.
Thank you. It's so nice to see you as well. And yeah, also I just like love the pink. I love the earrings. So much
Thank you.
joy.
Yes, I thought I'd
Mm.
go playful. So I've noticed my
Yeah.
friend's work of art is here, which says play, create, share, repeat, which is
I
a kind of playful art routine. I've got my guitar plectrum earrings on. And I
love
also bought this especially for you, Cara. I didn't buy it especially for you, but I brought it to the thing. This is normally on my coffee table. I bought this at the Christmas market,
oh, it's
a
so cute.
crocheted smiling daisy, and she makes me laugh so much every day. So
I
I thought
have
that's
her here.
how
So,
cute. Yeah, I
so
know. So
much joy.
I brought that specially to keep us company.
Thank you. Yes, I feel the energy. I love it.
Fantastic. So great. So you are now doing called the Playful Warrior, and
Mhm.
looking at play and personal growth through play, that kind of thing. But how, I mean, we're going to talk about your journey a little bit, but let's go back to little Cara, your
Yeah.
childhood and early schooling. And did you have then a sense that you were creative or felt different, or how were you at school, like your early years at school?
Mm. So I would say as a really little girl, I was super playful, super expressive. I loved to dance. I started
Right.
dancing at 3 years old. I started playing piano at 3 years old. Like I was very musical and
Yeah.
playful and wild in many ways. And I think that was like my spirit. And if I wanted to just dance, as many kids do, right? You just dance. You don't think about it. You're not like, what does my body look like or anything.
Yeah.
But I know that what ended up happening to me, like many others, is the perfectionism and societal conditioning started coming in. So even starting ballet, really started suppressing my self-expression. And this isn't to say there's not good ballet studios, right? It was just the one I went to was
Yeah.
very much about like body image, and me even being told like I was too round at 5 years old was
Yeah.
like just wild. Like, so things like this where, I used to love to dance for the sake of dance, and like
Yeah.
slowly all of these things became about achievement.
Yeah.
And so I definitely in school was a high achiever. Many people thought I was gifted. Like I was kind of that straight A student at school, always like achieving. And at the time, not really knowing why it was so important to me. But for me, it was like that sense of self-worth and belonging and like getting that validation through my grades,
Mm,
because in many ways I didn't feel like I had that at home. So it was
mm,
like getting my self-worth from schooling and excelling. So I would just spend hours on homework every day, and tried to do really well in school so that I could feel like I was enough. But again, at that time, I didn't really know that or why I was so
mm,
into school in that
yeah.
way. But yeah, it was kind of this dichotomy of like, I know in my soul, like as a kid too, like I loved public speaking. Like in grade 1, I started doing public speaking. And I started like competing in grade 5. So there were all these things where like in my soul, I knew I was meant to do really big things. And like I
Mm,
loved being on stage. I also did student theater as a kid too. Like I
yeah.
loved performing, I loved dancing, I loved all of that. But then it
Mm,
was like once the societal conditioning coming in, like that part of me started getting really shy. And I actually
mm,
would say I became quite shy, and like many people would have thought like, oh, she's very quiet. And for me, what I've learned is like really that's just like often you might not be shy as your like personality. It's just like trauma and
yeah.
feeling like it's not safe to express yourself. So I think I really had that and kind of became this shell of myself. Um, and so yeah, it was like it was interesting. It was like I always in my soul knew like you're meant to do big things. Like there was
Mm,
this sense of like playfulness and this light, but I really just the fear came in so overpowering who I was. And like in many ways, I feel like I lost myself And I can just remember like losing play as well, because play was such a big part of me. And I remember when I was really young, my dad, he worked in Toronto. I was living in this town called Burlington. And so it was about an hour commute. And I just remember every time my dad came home, my dad and I were like best friends. He would come home and I'd be so excited and I'd be just like jumping for joy and I'd go and I'd give him a big hug and I'd like shriek and I was so happy to see him. And but then I remember like once my mom made a note, like you're too old to do that kind of thing. And so then
Mm,
I remember like changing that and I was like, oh, dad's home and I'm excited, but oh, it's wrong to feel that. And I have to just
yeah.
be like, oh, hi. And so like I remember little moments like that. And looking back, I'm like, that's so freaking sad that we like have to like give up our joy. But
Yeah.
I remember like a lot of moments like that. And so like looking back as an adult, I'm just like, wow, like all these ways play is kind of shamed out of us and our self-expression. So yeah, I was like very young, just like super, super playful. Apparently, I don't have any videos of this, which is really sad, but my dad always says that anytime it was time to eat, like I would dance as a kid, I would shriek, I was so excited about food. And so, yeah, like when I think of my childhood, I think of that like little me who was so playful, but then I also feel
Mm.
really sad for the me who felt like she wasn't enough and she was weird and she didn't belong in many ways.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting, later on if we go through the kind of personal growth journey and we go back and look at who we were, and there's so many things that were like innate in us as a child, like we knew how to do them.
Mhm.
I would kind of write little shows and plays and songs when I was a kid. And like I never went to songwriting school. I just listened to a lot of music on like I could write a song because because I didn't know 9-year-olds didn't normally write songs. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what to do. And then there's something about learning how to do it where, like you say, we're kind of judged and it's very prescriptive and there's an outward view of what's right and wrong. And it's almost like that can take all the joy out of what we like doing in the first place. Like it's innate in us to move, but when we have to do it in a certain way to reach a certain thing, that can be really difficult. And I think there's also another thing about a lot of I get what you mean about being shy because when I was younger, I was like really like, how am I this real confident kind of performery show off, I call it, and then this excruciatingly shy inner like what how do these two fit together and who am I really? And it's almost like when I was in my creativity, it's almost like I had such confidence because I was almost like being somebody else, but I wasn't. But I just felt that's so natural for me. And yet, sort of being an ordinary person trying to communicate as a child was like, I don't really know how to do this sort of thing. But yeah, really interesting. And certainly a lot of people who are more, performery, extrovert, enthusiastic, that is too much energy for a lot of people to deal with. So we think it's us that's wrong, whereas in fact, it is just a challenge for some people to receive that amount of energy.
Totally. Yeah, I relate to you writing like screenplays and things like that too. Like I was definitely I was a writer. I loved writing like I was writing books about like dogs. I my first dog book I wrote at like grade 2 called Spunky and Spanky. These two dogs. And so I was always like making magazines and yeah, it
Yeah.
was very, very like creative and even I remember in the summer, like I would go to stay with my grandparents and I would like create this camp for my grandma to go through and like be a teacher and go through lessons. So yeah, I was like you said, it was just so natural. Nothing was forced. It was just
Yeah.
like who I was and what I was meant to do. You didn't have to overthink anything. It was just like that joy of expression.
Yeah, and sort of living in the world of make believe, which was sort of just normal. It's like, oh, I got a dressing up box and I got my sisters. Like I've got everything I need just to keep, to
Yeah.
play for hours. Just we've got costumes, we've got each other, we've got our imagination, like nothing else is required, sort of thing. But yeah,
Yeah. So
fantastic.
beautiful.
Yeah. So what did you do after school? Were you did you do the ordinary kind of expected college, proper job and all of that kind of stuff? Was that the path you followed?
Yeah, well, I even remember like, yes, like kind of went through, I went to like Catholic school. I wasn't like super religious, but that was
Yeah.
kind of what I was put in. So I did like grade school and then I did high school in Canada. But I remember like the first point of contention in high school is my mom really wanted me to go to this private high school. And I remember I
Right.
really didn't want to go because all my friends were going to this like Catholic one. So I like was able to like stand my ground and go to the one I wanted to go to. And so that was good. But then when it was time to like go to university, again, my parents really wanted me to go to this like prestigious business school that I really had no desire to go to at all.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew it wasn't that. And
Yeah.
I didn't want Because for me, I was never about like shiny titles or stuff. Like to be honest, I wasn't a big fan of stuff. Like for me, I was always about experiences and like
Yeah,
connection and like that was very true for me. And so yeah, like for me, it was about just going somewhere that felt like aligned. Like I don't care about this like, you know, prestigious business certificate
yeah,
or whatever. And so yeah, so I remember my parents were kind of upset, but I did go to this university. That was a great university, Wilfrid Laurier in Waterloo, and it was like so fun and so like community focused. So I ended up going there for communications. And that just felt like at the time it was like I don't really know what I want to do, but like communications feels like no matter what I do, communications degree will be helpful. And like right
yeah.
now, there's a lot of pressure to know at 18 what you're going to do, and I don't.
Oh, totally.
So that kind of just felt like a natural path. And what I really liked about Laurier where I went was like it was very community focused, and I got to like be in this dance program. I was a choreographer there, so I was like very involved in student life, which was
Yeah.
really fun. And so like made a lot of connections that way. But I will say like partied like very hard. Looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, it's so wild. And yeah, so it was like that was like a really fun chapter. But what was cool about going to Laurier, my very last year, because at this point I had traveled quite a bit with my family, but we really just went to like the Caribbean,
Mm,
or like the US, living in Canada. And so so when Laurier got this opportunity to do an exchange, so I actually did my last semester of university in Australia. And so I did, yeah, my last semester was in Melbourne, Australia, which was awesome. And like that really like started my love of like travel and
mm,
experiencing the world like on my own too. Like I did meet some of my best friends there who are still my best friends to this day, which is really cool. But from there we did backpacking. So we
mm,
started backpacking Southeast Asia. And so we went for, I think it was like 2 months about backpacking Southeast Asia. And so like that really started that again, like that adventurous side, getting on uncomfortable situations, but like experiencing the world, living fully. That was always really,
mm,
really important to me. And so that was really cool. But then I came back after, and I guess I was like 22 at the time. And I had this communications degree. I knew I also, as part of my schooling, I did do co-op actually, which basically meant every summer I worked a real job.
okay.
So by the time I was 22, I had already worked in like government communications. I had worked at an ad agency. So I already had a lot of experience, which was like
Yeah.
really helpful. And so then I remember one of like the highlights to my life still this time. So yeah, I'm like 22, I'm like on LinkedIn. I see this job posting for the Toronto International Film Festival, which is a massive film festival that happens in Toronto every September,
Yeah.
and they were looking for a publicist. And at the time, I'm like, I have no, like, I have very little experience. Like, sure, I have some like internship kind of
Yeah.
experience. I'm very young, but I was very much of that mindset of like, be adventurous, be bold, put yourself out there. Like, what does it hurt to just apply, right? And so I end up like applying to be this publicist, and I end up getting the job, which is like super, super exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was so cool. And it was like that week was wild and just really showed me the possibility of life because like I was being the publicist of like really big celebrities. Like on day two, I spent the day with Bradley Cooper. So I got
I
to just
remember
be,
this story now.
yeah,
I was like, you did what?
yeah. And like I got to talk to like Ryan Gosling and Eva Mendes and Bruce Willis. And like I was meeting so many people. And it was just like I share this story, especially just because like I feel like it would have been so easy for me not to apply to this job, being like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
too entry level, I don't have
totally.
experience. Like you have to dance with life and put yourself out there. And so I did have that side of me. And so like that was like so fun. It was such a cool way. I mean, it was very draining. It was like 3 hours of sleep every night. And it's not something I could do sustain it.
Yeah.
But it was just a really cool short gig that just showed me the magic of life. But yeah, that when I graduated that, so then I'm at this point where I still honestly don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
I do have like communications degree, and so I decided to just go into like a PR internship. And I will say, so then I end up working in PR for 10 years, and PR is like extremely stressful. Like you get to do really cool stuff. Like I did get to travel a lot, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I had a lot of amazing experience at agencies, but like often when you're in an agency, like you can be working 12 to 14 hours a day. You have like so many clients, there's so much burnout. And so I feel like in my soul, the whole time I was in that career, I would try to like look for the good of like, oh, I made these friends or I learned this thing.
Yeah.
But
Looking for the silver lining while going, oh my God.
it just felt so off. Like it
Yeah.
felt so incredibly off. I knew this was not what I was meant to be doing. There was so much fear about what could be next. And like what I would do actually was I went on some, I called them like sabbaticals or just like a work pause where I actually did 2 leave of absence from some PR jobs throughout my 20s.
Mm,
One was 3 months where I just like worked and I like the agency I was at, they liked me. So they're like, okay, you can go. It'll be unpaid, but you can come back in 3 months. So I was like, okay, great. I need a break from
great. Yeah.
so I did my very first one of those in 2014. I went to Brazil for the World Cup. And my best friend and I, we traveled Brazil and Bolivia and Peru for 3 months. So like that was amazing. And again, it was like I loved traveling. I loved experiences and meeting people. But then it would be
Mm,
like, oh, I have to go home. And I'm like, I hate the life I'm going back to in many
yeah.
ways. And I'm like trying to escape it. So it was always like I love to travel, but it really at the time was this escape for me.
Mm,
And then yeah, in 2015, I remember going through like a really bad breakup and again just being like really unsatisfied with PR life, and I thought I might be done at that point, so I did quit a job. I went
mm,
to Colombia with a one-way ticket with my best friend, and we had like no plans at all. It was super fun. I left my apartment, I put everything I owned into storage, and so we just went. And like honestly, so it was 10 years ago, 2016 January we went. It was so cool because it was like for the first time I had no plans, there was like no controlling, it was living day to day. And just like seeing what happened, and we met so many people, we followed our intuition, we had so much fun. Like I love to dance, I love Latin dancing. I didn't mention this earlier, but my dad partly grew up in Venezuela, so like I've always been such a big fan of like Latin culture, and I speak Spanish. And so to be down there was just like so fun, and it was like so vibrant. And yeah, it was just like the most beautiful time. And I'm so glad I said yes and booked that trip.
mm,
But again, even at that time, like a lot of people thought it was crazy. They're like, why are you going to Colombia? It's so unsafe. Like there were so many like, representations, misrepresentations, I think, of what Colombia is. So I've always been that person who's kind of like, girl, what are you doing? This is crazy. But I went, and it was just like the most amazing time. And I'm like such a big proponent of Colombia now. But when I was there, I did get a job offer from LinkedIn. Someone had reached out, and it was like a travel PR job. And I was like,
mm.
ooh, okay, I've done a lot of PR, but I've never done like travel PR. What would it be like if I actually got to do travel PR, like merge these two things?
Yeah.
So then I decided to give PR a chance back, and I went back to Toronto. And long story short, like again, it was like even though I was doing travel PR and I got to travel, like the agency culture was still the same. There were many
Yeah.
toxic situations. It was very hard. Um, yeah, I mean, like so much crap happened. Like it was a really crazy, crazy job. But yeah, so it was like as much as like again, we can always find the silver linings. It was still super, super off. So freaking
Mm,
off.
mm.
Um, and so then yeah,
And
and then like
it's such an interesting time, isn't it? Where you go, this isn't it, but I don't know what is it. Like
totally.
I love to travel, but I can't spend my whole life traveling because I need, there's other things that we need. And then it's like, but then I go back to here and it's like, I don't know what I want, but this just doesn't feel like, yeah. Like not fitting in, but not knowing where you do fit kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I felt that so much. And it was like, I remember someone being like, well, if you could do anything, what would it be? And I'd be like, I would just dance on a beach. Like, that's all I want to do.
Yeah.
I
And
just
it's the wrong. I mean, hello.
I love the beach and I love to
Maybe
dance.
there'd be a waterfall in the afternoon. I mean,
Yeah. Like, how do we make that a job? I remember thinking that a lot in my 20s, but I was like, I don't know how to do this. So yeah, I was kind of like, obviously, and I'm living in Toronto, it's very, very expensive. So, like have this corporate career gig going. Yeah, and I kind of just staying in it you just get so comfortable even though it's wrong. Like I remember like also I was into personal development still at
yeah.
this time, 20s, like I was reading a lot of these books or like going to goddess circles where you're like
Yeah.
in a circle of women sharing. So there were things I was doing and I was definitely
Mm,
into personal development. And I think I had even thought about, oh, maybe being a coach one day would be super cool, but like I didn't know what that looked like, and I just yeah
yeah.
didn't have that clarity. And I guess like things started shifting for me in my career. I mean, really, I would say in 2019. So in 2019, I was at this agency that, again, like I just knew it wasn't it. I was not happy at all. Like I did like some of my coworkers. That was really all I had going for me. But like, yeah, it was so not it. It felt just like I was abandoning myself because I knew I was like
Mm,
wasting potential that I had that I
mm,
wasn't going for. And it's like that feeling is just kind of icky.
yeah.
And then the agency I'm at offers me this like vice president role. And at the time, it's like my parents are like, "Oh my gosh, congratulations. Like this is amazing," kind of thing. And it's like, "Oh, this feels so off. This feels so wrong. I don't want this role. I don't care if it's more money. Like I don't care about these titles. They really mean nothing to me if it's not fulfilling my soul."
Yeah.
And so I actually ended up declining that role, which was like, I would say the really big start of like my, I don't know, just like reclaiming what is meant for me and my soul and like letting go of these shoulds and this corporate career. Cause I know I was told like you have to do corporate to make money, which is kind of like why I went on this trail. And so yeah, like declining that was like a really big moment for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like just, yeah, things started like I really started like trusting myself more and started actually having boundaries and saying no to things, which I would never do. I was so like overextending myself before, such a people pleaser before.
Mm.
So they let me stay in my current role and just like not get a promotion, which was like great because I knew at the end, like, I don't want to stay doing this, but just right now I'm trying to figure it out. So already
Yeah.
like early 2020, I'm really thinking like I got to get out of here, but I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
then of
there's almost like the awareness that this is a finite thing, but not rushing into anything, or just kind of going, okay, I can feel myself. And I felt this when I was, I was a nurse for a really long time, and then I had a job recently, and it's kind of, I've kind of already left, but I'm still doing it. So there's like
Mhm.
my energetically, I'm out exploring, like, what else is that? I'm still turning up, I'm still doing a good job, I'm still getting paid, I'm still doing the thing. And it's like, but my my energy is like out exploring something else, and it's going to take me with it at one point. Yeah.
Totally. And I mean, I was also experiencing very other interesting shifts in my life at this time, same time. So this was late 2019. So at that time also, I had this massive cockroach infestation in the apartment
Yeah.
I was living in.
Okay. Yeah.
And, I am quite spiritual and I also believe in like signs and things because it was just like no matter
Did
what
you
I
look
did,
up what cockroaches were significant? Like, what's the
yeah,
significance of cockroaches?
yeah, I don't think that was my first immediate thing I did when it was
I
happening,
was
but
like,
like
I'm
after
infested. What does it mean?
after a few months, because I was, at first it was more practical, like
Yeah,
let's
I'm
try to
sure.
like, calling the people to spray and doing the glue and like all this stuff. We don't have to get into that nightmare.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening to this though who is going through that, you're welcome to message me because I know how hard it is and anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
um yeah, so anyways, it was like no matter what I did, and like I tried so many things, they just like wouldn't leave. My apartment was so clean, there was no food, there was nothing, and it was still like infestation. So it was like, okay, clearly I'm not meant to live here. Like something in
Yeah.
my life, there's a sign. And like cockroaches are known to be like very resilient, like it's hard to
Mm.
kill
Yeah,
them.
for
And they're
sure.
like they find things in the shadows as well. And so they really were just like kind of this dark night of the soul I was going through. I was also in therapy. So I really extensively started therapy like 2017, 2018, doing a lot of like inner child healing, a lot of like trauma healing. It was very heavy as well. So just life was feeling like extremely heavy and like the therapy was amazing. But it was a lot, like
Mm.
processing a lot of childhood
Mm.
trauma. And so then I was doing that. I also was having one thing I didn't actually talk about on my journey. It's so hard to share your whole life story. Oh my gosh. But
I
a big
know
part
it is.
of me that I did get as a kid and honest was a big yeah, very big part of my journey was I do have epilepsy. And so as a
Okay.
kid, when I started having seizures, this was another thing again that made me very different, that I
Yeah.
didn't feel like I fit in, that I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I could tell anyone because again, it was just like I was this black sheep. And historically, like people with epilepsy, they were actually like burned at the stake and they were thought of these demons. So there's all this like intergenerational history around it too.
Mm.
So I really struggled with that in many ways. And now I'm like totally fine. I've done a lot of healing, but I was having more seizures at this time as well in
Yeah.
2019. So the health stuff. In January 2020, I have a significant breakup with someone I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. So it was like everything was happening at once. It's this dark night of the
It's
soul.
like things are breaking apart, and it's like, oh,
The life I thought I knew is like
you're
everything is
clinging to a life raft, and everything's just sort of
yes.
like getting more and more chaotic. Yeah.
So like the identity, I thought like everything is adios, no more. And
Yeah.
then of course COVID happens.
Of
And
course. Yeah.
uh so yeah, as soon as it's like real in Canada, like mid-March, I get let go from my job because especially in PR marketing, there's no, especially at that time with travel and stuff, like no one's traveling, there's no
Yeah.
budget for
Yeah.
um, and so then everyone's like, "Oh my God," and now she's lost her job. Like, because I'd just been going through so much, and everyone like felt so, like was thinking about me. And funny enough, like everyone's so worried about me. But for the first time, I'm finally like, like
Yeah.
I just felt
The
so
decision has been made for you, so it's like,
yeah.
okay.
because I wasn't doing it myself, right?
Yeah.
And so like the universe did it for me. And it was
Yeah.
just like the sense of peace I felt was incredible. Like, of course, there's still that logical part of your brain that's like scared about money and like things like that. But like, because this wasn't part of my plan, what I was planning, but
Mm,
the universe knew better, has a better imagination than I do. And it was just like, yeah, I can't like that sense of peace I felt was just like the most beautiful thing. Like I just knew it was
yeah.
so
Yeah.
um
And, I think 2020 was in nobody's plan. Like nobody had that on their vision
totally,
board. Like whatever our experience
totally.
was of that year, it wasn't one that we expected or, wanted to manifest in our lives. So it's like, yeah,
Yes, no, it's just like such a great lesson
interesting.
in letting go of control and surrendering and being
Yeah.
open to what's even better for you on your path. And so yeah, it was like suddenly I had all this space in my schedule because PR was very busy. Like, right,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, you can work really long days. And so like finally I had this space to like be with myself and
Mm,
to like discover myself. And also we were all in quarantine. So I was like just at home. So like I started like dancing more. Like I'd always loved to dance. I also didn't really talk about my dance career, but like dance was a really big part of my life. Like I used to compete in dance for many years. But again, like dance became this thing for me that I loved so much, but it was very competitive.
yeah.
Like it was often about this outcome, about winning, like notes on technique and how your body looks, and like so many body image issues as well. And so it was like for me, it was like reclaiming dance as this thing that was like fun. And for me, that wasn't
Mm.
outcome. Like, of course, I could challenge myself, but like my worth wasn't in that, and it was just about feeling good. And so I feel
Yeah,
like
it's
that
more about the experience and just doing it, like how it feels rather than how it looks from outside. Yeah.
totally. And so that was really fun for me to like reclaim dance and like
Yeah.
yeah, I just remember doing all these different kinds of dance and learning dance, like learning new kinds of dance. Yeah, doing really silly dancing as well, like dancing like animals and like really reconnecting with my inner child because
Yeah.
at that time I had mentioned like I had done a lot of heavy therapy. And so it got to a point where my therapist was like girl, you need to find some joy and play. And like I loved that idea. But and I immediately went like Googling, searching, like, how do adults play? Like, what do we do? Because everything, again, like, at least where I was, it was like adults, the form of play is usually very competitive or
Yeah.
like it's an outcome. And it was
Yeah.
like, I'm not looking for that. And so I'm searching. I can't find anything. Like, I started finding books about like the science behind play, or like I did find like The Artist's Way by Julie Cameron. Like, there were a lot of great things I found, but
Mm.
there was like I was literally looking for like this how-to play for dummies for adults, and I just like
Yeah.
couldn't find it. It was like I
Yeah.
want actual exercises, like kind of being guided through. So I couldn't find that. So then I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, I then decided I'm going on my own play journey, and that was just really in my soul. What was like, okay, now I've been let go from my job. Like I really want to play and feel better for me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've been doing a lot of like inner child work and like talking with my inner child. And so suddenly with this space and I'm dancing more, more ideas start coming up and I'm feeling more creative. And like I'm going back to art. I hadn't done art in like since grade one because I thought I was so bad at it. But I've like
Mm.
allowed myself now to do bad and perfect art. And so like suddenly I'm just like playing all the time and I'm honestly feeling like so good. I'm feeling like just amazing, so confident. And meanwhile, this is like during the pandemic, which is a really hard time for a lot of people.
Mm. Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, like what are you doing? Like you look so like happy. Like what is different?" And, I start talking about play and like people are really interested by that idea. And because right now it's like so much anxiety, so much depression. And I just remember like every day I was doing a play date with myself. And then I was like meditating one day and this name, like the Playful Warrior, came to me. And I was like, whoa, like I feel like that's been my journey. Like it's been so hard in so many ways. I feel like I've been this warrior, but it's like this playfulness is what's gotten me through everything and is like really felt like it's brought me back to my wholeness and like reclaiming this playfulness that I've let go of for so long. And
Yeah.
like returning to little me. So it was like this really beautiful moment and like just started getting these soul nudges that like, oh, I think this isn't just for you. I think this is meant to be your business. This is like what you've been waiting for your whole life. And like it's in so many ways, it's like, yeah, it was just like honestly so exciting. Like the most joy I've ever felt. I feel like I waited like 30 years for that moment. It was just so exciting um to
Yeah, and
know
then
that
that
there.
sounds like, something that's very much coming from inside of you almost. It
Totally.
came in a meditation, and it's just like you're following the clues of what feels good. And well, this is great. It's kind of playful, but it's not quite it. And I think there's a whole load of when we're trying to find our purpose, which is an interesting way of putting it anyway, which is just exploring who we are and how we want to live, really. What our values are, what we love to do, and that evolves over the course of our life anyway. But really just going, you know, how do I feel when I'm doing this? Am I energized? Am I alive? Am I lit up? Do I feel expanded? Do I feel connected to myself and something greater than myself and other people? Or is it one where you just, like you were saying, where you work in PR and it's like, oh, like it really feels uncomfortable or constricting or, overwhelming, or like we're squashing ourselves into a space that isn't really right for us. And I think there's another thing that you said, which is great for the audience, which is, doing things just for us because they're fun, which could be drawing or dancing or singing, or and doing them really badly. Like if that's what it takes to get started, because we're so used to as children, because so I moved to Bristol, where I live now, in 2020 at the end of February, going, it's an amazing cultural city and it's full of these independent theatres and museums and art galleries and comedy, and there's loads to do. And like 3 weeks later, we were all in lockdown and everything I'd planned to do was cancelled. And it was like, oh, so I've moved to this city for this particular experience and none of it was happening. I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But it was kind of just, okay, what do I do now? A bit like everybody. It's like, oh, well, this wasn't what this is what wasn't what I had planned. But also just being able to follow those clues and go, okay, what do I'm stuck at home. What do I have? And what can I make out of this? And allowing myself to just go on a journey of making following those little clues and going, how does this feel when I'm doing this? And yeah, this is why I just started telling this story. So when I did art at school, I wasn't allowed to do it like for O levels and A levels, which we took then, which is like exams when you're like 16, 18, because I wouldn't have been good enough. I enjoyed doing it, but I wasn't good enough to get a good grade. So therefore the school would look, and it was, oh, okay. And so it was in lockdown really that I started doing intuitive art, because I was working with an online mentor, and I just started doing stuff at home. And it's like, well, nobody's seeing it because I'm doing it at home. We're all in lockdown, unless I show it to my flatmate, there's nobody else here. And that was really it's really freeing just to let yourself play. And I was like, why did nobody tell me that like making art was just playing with colors, playing with shapes? I love color, obviously, you can tell. And it was like, oh my God, I've made art this thing that's graded, and it's got to be, like you were saying with dance, it's got to be good enough. I've got to fit in with this thing. I've got to get somebody's approval. And I was like, oh my God, I've got colors and I've got paper and I've got some music on and I'm having a lovely time. And just, yeah, anyone that's listening to this, just feel, if you feel that urge just to experiment, like just do it and don't show it to anybody. Like you don't need anyone's opinion. Just the joy of actually the experience of the process is the point. And if you make something nice that you want to put on the wall at the end of it, that's a bonus, but that's not really the point of it. The point is, to do it. And also what I found as well when I first started doing it is, and you probably felt like this when we go back to things or when we learn new things, is those inner voices that are like, it's not any good. What will people think? You should have done that differently. Oh, why have you put that blue thing there? Like, and those voices are the things we have to make friends with.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I never always thought, oh, I'm just terrible at art. That's why I didn't do it. Like
Yeah.
in grade 1, I remember I couldn't even color in the lines. Like I was just like a natural messy writer. It's hard to
Yeah.
read my writing. So it was like, I
You're a rebel. What can we say?
yeah. And then like, yeah, learning from me, like, oh, art is just self-expression. It's just like fun. I can just like scribble on a paper and that can be art, like
Yeah.
art without judgment. And that's really like what it was about. And for me, what got me back into it is someone who wasn't societally an artist, but now super believe everyone is an artist, was just like drawing blindfolded. I would draw blindfolded all the time to let myself get back into that practice. And it looked silly and it looked like it just felt fun. For me, it was more about the feeling. It wasn't what it looked like. And even now with like my students, right? Like I'm very careful to be like, oh, that looks good. Like I don't judge people. I just ask people's questions. I'm like, how did that
Mm,
feel? Oh, you chose that
yeah.
color. Where did it come from? And I even say this, I know for many parents too, learning to like ask their kids questions with their creations versus like judging them. And I know like also some people often find like, oh my God, I do that. I'm a bad parent or I'm a bad sister or whatever. It's like, no, this is so normal. We can just start being more curious about this conditioning as well. But it's like just starting to like, yeah, notice, like you said, treat those voices with kindness. And what really
Mm,
helped me, someone who has to have a really strong inner critic, was the inner child healing, like imagining the little me with
mm,
me. And what would I say to her, right? If she drew those scribbles, right? I'd be like, oh my God, that
mm,
was fun. Or I'd ask her a question. And like, that was really healing because I knew within me there was this really sad child who had to stop playing. And I wanted to give her that second childhood. And that was really what my play journey was about, was like letting her play again and being kind to her. And like, yeah, it really helped me with my inner critic. And anytime those voices came up, like I knew it was just a protective pattern that felt scared, and let the fear know that, you know what, it's okay. I know you're there. I know you're trying to protect me. You think we might be rejected, but ultimately, you know, we can let go of that now and we can try this new approach, and kind of having your younger selves back. So I will say like inner child healing was just, yeah, so, so powerful for that.
mm, mm. And those voices lessen the more we do it as well. So I think when we start doing new things and we're you know, we've all got these inner voices, we've all got these inner critics that might be from us, they might be from someone in the past, and we think they're going to be there forever, but they're really not. You know, they get quieter and quieter the more we get into, actually, you know, I'm enjoying this. Or and then we make, you know, we might make something or do something, we go, oh my God, that was actually really great. You know, we can surprise ourselves with what we create. I mean, I'm remembering now, you know, doing your online session and you had us drawing with our left hand, or drawing, yeah, probably with our eyes shut, and we did a bit of dance and a bit of movement. And you know, it wasn't a kind of theoretical, here's what play is on a PowerPoint slide. It's like, now we're going to play, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, and that's what I needed. Like I needed to be out of my head and
Yeah.
into my body. And so that was
Yeah.
kind of what I ended up creating, was like I started with just like one-on-one coaching, like actually playing with people on like for 90 minutes on a session. And then that kind of, what was really cool was, oh, also at during that time though, I did in 2020, I did get certified in mindset coaching and hypnotherapy as well,
Yeah.
which was really powerful. And I kind of combined that with my playful practice.
Yeah, I'm
But what
sure.
was really cool, because I work with so many entrepreneurs who are, you know, so stuck in the perfectionism and procrastination and waiting for this perfect idea before they can start, and the overwhelm. And it's like, you just have to start with something. And so it was like,
Yeah.
ultimately I started, but once I started and I started getting clarity and started getting inquiries, right? And it was like, as soon as I started this one-on-one coaching, people started approaching me like, corporations, do you do corporate play sessions? And the answer, honest answer, was no, but I said yes. And I figured it out, right? Because it was like
Yeah. I do
getting,
now.
yeah, absolutely, you know? And so like so much of my business has been built that way, right? When
Yeah.
it's like an aligned thing that feels good. And so it was like,
Yeah.
oh, now I do like corporate play sessions. And then like I had like families and like couples reach out being like, oh, do you do stuff with families and couples? And it's like, yeah, I do, even though I hadn't done it yet, right? And so it was just like so much of all of my business and the way it's evolved over the last 5 years has really been just about like playing with opportunities and starting with something, and then kind of just like dancing with the universe and seeing what else comes up. So I
Yeah,
know
because
though,
to me that's like the essence of play. Because like you're saying, there's all these theories of play, and some of them are like, you know, sports are play, and these competitive games are play, and this is play, and it's like,
yeah,
well, they are forms of play in a way, but actually they're more like forms of competition.
yeah,
And actually play is about letting go of the outcome and following the clues, and you know, being open and being intuitive and using your creativity and all of this kind of stuff. So the fact that you've built your business in the same with the same essence that play is makes total sense. Yeah.
totally. It's always an experiment. Like, and
Yeah.
yeah, like, and all my clients, like, I'll be telling them about like, oh, these are the experiments I'm doing this year in my business, and kind of what I do, and then I give summaries, and yeah, it's just
I
like,
say that to my friend as well, and she's like, "What are you doing now?" And I'm in different areas of my life. Well, I'm doing this, this, and this. I said, "It's just an experiment, right? I've got an idea of where I think it might lead, but I'm just doing an experiment, and I'm looking for the results and seeing what happens. You know, I'm doing science with myself around creativity or well-being or energy or whatever it is I'm, you know, playing with at the time. And I think like the more I've done that, I find that such an exciting way to live, because it takes a lot of the pressure out. You know,
totally,
I worked in a science center for a few. So after we got out of lockdown, I was desperate to be with people. And I got a job in a science center doing hands-on creative stuff with the visitors, which for an ex-nurse who hadn't been in work except working for herself for ages, is like, I walked into that job at 55 and worked with a bunch of 22-year-olds. And it was crazy, but it was so interesting. And what I remembered was, you know, science often does experiments and they don't really give a result. They don't give the result you want. They don't give any particular result. You don't get a definite result. You get a result you definitely didn't want. But the fact is, when you've done the experiment, you've got that result. It's like, oh, what am I going to do differently this time? So you're
Mhm.
constantly kind of changing the method that you're trying to get the result you want out of. And and it feels quite playful to do that without, you know, without the expectation that it's got to be right or we've got to get, you know, whatever. It's like, I'm going to try this and just see what happens. You know, that art of non-attachment, which is very easy to say and quite hard to do. But the experimentation idea, I think, has worked really well for me because that somehow convinces my brain as well we're doing something serious and proper because it's an experiment. But it's actually just a word that means I am playing, but my brain is on board as well because we're doing an experiment.
Totally. That's all I've been doing the last 5 years.
Yeah,
It's so powerful for that like perfectionistic brain because ultimately too, and I think what happens is we get so attached to outcomes or
yeah,
like we're like, I'll be happy when I get this, when I have this launch, when I make this
yeah.
amount of money. Then that comes and you're on to the next thing and you're never
Mm,
enjoying the journey, right? It's like really is about the journey and not the destination. So it's like
yeah,
how can you find joy daily? And it's like, yeah, when your work is play and you're seeing it as this experiment where there's no pressure, you don't have to get it perfect. You get to be curious, you let go of control and you see where life meets you. It's just like such a magical way of living. And it doesn't mean it's always going to be easy, but again, it's like this just like the pressure off your shoulders. It loosens the fear. It helps you act and have fun in the process. But yeah, for me, it's like a big thing of my journey too has been like learning how to be happy when things are incomplete. You can't
mm,
wait for the completion of these goals to be happy. Like it's always going to be this moving goalpost, right? So it's just like for me, the experimentation is fun, right? It's not just about, for example, it's not just like if I'm launching something and I'm creating this program, it's not just like the sales of that is fun. Like creating the sales page has to be fun and writing
yeah.
it and being in it, the calls, like everything leading to it is part of the fun. So yeah, it's really, really served me. And I know it serves so many of my clients. It sounds like you as well. Like it is such a powerful reframe.
Yeah, and you're reminding me of something as well. You know, the thing about coaching when we're talking about the outcome, and it's like goal setting and being very specific and measurable and achievable and all of this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, we don't really know what's achievable a lot of the time anyway. Um, but also, you know, there's that whole thing of, you know, we set a goal and we don't reach it, and it's like, oh God, something, you know, I'm a failure, and you know, all this other stuff comes up, and so I'm just remembering now about, you know, different books that I've read about coaching, which is like, you know, the goal is, it's almost like the goal is the action steps. It's like, I'm going to do this 3 times a week, right? You let go of the outcome. I'm going to have this many, you know, I'm going to do sales page and I'd like to have this many people on it, but my intention is to have fun, speak to great people, you know, and enroll the people that feel right, for example, which takes the numerical kind of, um, almost like an obsession with this. It's got to be this and it's got to be this time that we can get into. Certainly I did, you know, as a coach, when I trained as a coach, it was very much like, oh yes, we can set a goal and we can work towards it and we can get it. And you know, sometimes that works beautifully and other times it doesn't. So it's how do we move forward and enjoy the journey while we're getting there? Because whether we reach the goal or not, you know, we reach the goal and we go, oh yeah, there's still the rest of my life to go. You know, like we can celebrate for a bit and then it's like, well, what do I do now kind of thing. So yeah, really
Yeah.
interesting.
And that's just so exhausting that like if you're not finding joy in the journey, because I've done that approach too. And so like
Yeah,
I will say like I think in the last year and a half, especially I've really found joy like every day in business, regardless of outcome. And it's been so much better than like
yeah,
waiting for these moments to happen. But yeah, it is interesting. I feel like I used to do more traditional goal setting as well. And I do agree it can be really helpful. I think for each person, seeing what feels good for you. But for
yeah,
me, for this year, I actually was the first year I didn't set any business goals actually. My only goal was like joy this year. Just
yeah.
follow joy, have fun. Because I know when I'm in that energy, that's often when magic happens as well. And I don't
Yeah,
have to
and like joy
things.
is magnetic to other people. And I think
Totally.
we and it comes back to the programming we were talking about at the beginning. It's like I'm not allowed to be joyful and playful because business is serious. And it's like, actually, if you're joyful and playful, then the people who want to be joyful and playful will be like attracted to you like a magnet. That's the point. And you know, if we want to talk about energy and frequency, you know, joy is one of the highest frequencies there are. You know, joy when we're connected to something greater than ourselves and we're expansive and we're, vibrating at a beautiful frequency, and it's sort of, but there's a bit of us that still goes, but I'm not allowed to feel joyful enough. Like I literally was talking about this with Abby yesterday on another call, and this reprogramming ourselves away from trauma and drama and stress and into what if we felt joyful and playful and free and creative. And it's really hard to get our brains around, because nobody, like, that's not how we're programmed. So there's a lot of deprogramming to go on, and it's really exciting for you, for your year, just to go, this is my intention for the year. The intention is not the goals, the intention is the in the moment experience, really.
Totally, because I thought back to 2020 when I started my business, like, and initially I wasn't playing for any reason. I wasn't even thinking of starting my own business. It was a personal journey that evolved. But
Yeah,
like when I was in that state of like just play, 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 joy, 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 like so much magic happened. I wasn't trying to
yeah,
control outcomes or forcing, and like it just felt really right to do another year like this, where right now my priority every day is making sure I get in some playtime for me. Because it's
yeah,
been, as a business owner, and like so much has happened over the last 5 years, but it's so easy to not actually be able to do that or have that
yeah,
time fill up your own cup. And I've realized just how important that is. And so like getting back to that place, it's just so much more fun every day
yeah.
without like these like heavy goals on your shoulders. And I know for some years like that has served me, those goals in the season, right? And I think we're all just evolving too as humans. But I'd say in like especially in the last year, the biggest theme for me has been like let go of control, have fun, surrender, co-create with the universe. You're not doing this alone, right? There's so many
Yeah,
miracles and magic possible for you. And it's like you said, when we are vibrating high, like that's when we really receive those miracles. We are a match for them. And so yeah, it gets to be fun. It gets to be easy. And I think also, you're talking about reprogramming, right? And so often I thought like work has to be hard, work has to be a struggle.
mm,
Because that was definitely a PR. Work was hard, work was a struggle. And so
mm,
now it's like fun. It's like, oh no, it gets to be fun. It gets to be easy. Like, how cool is this? How lucky I am that
mm.
I get to like love what I do and have fun. And, it's like the classic everyone talks about, like, your get to do list instead of your
Yeah,
to do list. Like, just like these little playful reframes you can do with language is just so powerful.
yeah. I used to have a thing that was like fewer to-dos and more ta-das.
Ooh,
Like, what about your ta-da list? Where's that? People are like, oh, I really like that. Yeah,
so
and
powerful.
oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. Evening time, midlife brain. So much to talk about. Let me see if I can remember it in the next 2 milliseconds. Um, we were talking about being playful. Oh yeah, and something I heard in a beautiful meditation the other day was like, we are a collaborative force with the universe. And it's like, ooh, that feels so good. And I think,
Oh,
I've definitely burnt out as a nurse and burnt out in business before, trying to, serve and give, and, even though I was coaching nurses on work-life balance, I just burnt myself out totally because I forgot it meant me as well.
yeah.
And now I'm like, yeah, that, like, this afternoon we've had some pretty ropey, cold, grey, wet weather. And today the weather was beautiful. And I was just like, right, I did a bit in the morning. And then I'm like, I am out for a walk in the sunshine and taking photographs and just being in that beautiful, environment. And I never used to take time out during the day to, go for a walk. And then I'm also doing a lot of improv at the moment. And, just that feeds into everything. It's like, because I'm having so much fun
Totally.
outside of what I'm doing for my purposeful mission-led business, whatever I want to call it, that it fuels it, and I feel resourced and I feel rested, and I'm getting, I'm sleeping and resting and all of this stuff that, yeah, we don't have to earn it, we don't have to deserve it. Like, that should come first, because that's where all the magic comes from. It's hard to create magic when we're burnt out and overwhelmed and frazzled, if
100%.
not impossible.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Brilliant. Okay. Oh my goodness, look at the time. So in the last couple of minutes, like, do you have anything that you'd like to share that you haven't said, or a couple of practices maybe, if people want to get into doing some play on their own?
Yeah. Well, I would say, one of the first things, if you are like new to play, like I was, I just want to like, yeah, just say for someone who might feel like they're very far away from play right now, just know that I really believe everyone is playful. It is
Yeah.
so possible for you. Again, it's like all this conditioning that's really not you. And there's these voices that like often your inner critic, like that's not you. That's like society, media, like caretakers, messaging, but like who you
Mm,
are in your soul. You desire play and creativity and it's so delicious. It is so possible for you. But just know that like for me, when I first started playing, it felt so awkward. I felt so
mm,
like there was resistance. And so
yeah,
so often people mistake that resistance for, oh, it's not meant for me because it,
yeah,
it's like easy for them over there. It was not easy for me at first. It was really awkward and resistance, like navigating all that. So just don't let that like stop you or think it's not for you, because on the other side it does feel so good and you
yeah,
will feel free, but it's going to feel awkward at first. I think I have time for a quick story, but one thing that really kind of shifted my perspective. I remember I was part of this dance group in Toronto, and this was like actually not about competing at all. It was like a really fun showcase. You didn't have to be a professional dancer to be in it. There were 200 of us aged 9 to 93. So it was like all ages. It was really cool. And for one of the warm ups, the instructor told us to gallop around this gymnasium like horses. And this is like when I was not yet connected to play in this way. And I just remember being like, oh my God, this is so cringe. This is so awkward. No part of me wants to be a horse right now. This is so
yeah,
weird. And I remember though, there were these women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, Dorothy in her 90s. They started like galloping around. They were laughing, they were snorting, they were neighing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I want that. I want what they have, that freedom. That looks
yeah,
so beautiful. I was so a shell of myself. So I only say this because I know some often people be like, oh, well, it's easy for you to play. And it's like, well, no, actually, it did take time. And
yeah,
again, what really helped me, step one, was actually not judging any of my creations. That's why I started with a blindfold. Just putting on music, starting to draw freely and see what came out, letting myself, and just like imagine my younger self was there, my 5-year-old self. What does she need? What would I say to her? And what would, like, imagining that is you, because that really is you, right? We
yeah,
are, we are still that small child,
yeah,
just in a
totally.
grown up body. So I would say that that would be, and if you're looking for more play, you can always find me on Instagram at the Playful Warrior. I also have some really exciting, fun things coming up this year. It's still a bit too short to say, but depending when you're listening to this, you can always find out my offerings, theplayfulwarrior.com. I do also retreats. You can look to see what retreats we have coming up. I have a group coaching program. It's like an 8-week journey that's all about rewiring the perfectionistic patterns, actually, to help you take more action and live your dream life, but we do it in a playful, fun way. And there's also some other cool things that will come, but too soon to say now, but you can always find me at theplayfulwarrior.com.
That's beautiful. And we'll put all the links in the notes for the YouTube and the Spotify. And I've just remembered what I was going to say as well. Is like there's a lot of people talking about, connecting to your higher self and your future self and your this, that, and the other. And what's actually come through for me lately is a bit like we've been talking about reconnecting with your inner child, is connecting to your truest self. Because
Oh,
I
yeah.
think when we were a child, before we had that conditioning, we were our true selves to a greater extent than we are as adults. So the little
Mm,
you that used to, whatever that is, whether you used to draw, you used to sing, you used to like baking, you used to like putting your hands in the mud, you used to like watching butterflies, you used to, whatever it is, it's like that's still in there. And then
oh,
I think my journey now is like, how can I be that child, that have the same use the same gifts as I had as a child, but with the wisdom of the woman I've become. So it's like really, really reconnecting the child and the woman together and going, well, that's who I was when I was a kid. And I hadn't learned that. Nobody taught me how to do those things. So they are innate in me. And yet, I could use them now, but in a different way. And yeah, anybody who also wants to be more playful, I highly recommend improv classes. But that's my own preferred way of accessing it. But yes, there's lots of ways we can play as adults, and it isn't easy to start with because we're undoing all the programming.
totally, totally. And yeah, so like my work, we do play, but we also do a lot of the playful mindset. And there is a lot of mindset support around all the fears and the perfectionism, the all or nothing thinking and the procrastination.
Yeah.
Um,
What will
and
people think? And I'm going to look ridiculous. And da, 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 da. Well,
totally.
just to let anybody know, on Saturday I was doing an improv show, and we were doing a western, and I got to do one of my dreams come true. I played a bartender, and I slid imaginary drinks down an imaginary bar, which was really fun. And I also played a cattle being wrangled by a cowboy, so it's all possible.
Oh yeah, so much is possible. And I think it's like about finding what feels good for you too. Like
Yeah,
I really resonate with what you said about how your true self is like ultimately our child self, and merging that, the wisdom of, your adult self is so beautiful. And for some
Yeah,
people, they'll resonate with the higher self or the future self or whatever it
totally.
is. It's just like learning what
Yeah,
feels good for you. You get to play with language. There's no right or wrong for anything. Like,
yeah,
let's take the pressure off. Let's have
yeah,
fun. It's such a
yeah.
beautiful ride. And yeah, just like when we add that playfulness, it just becomes so much more magical.
Yeah, and the big clue is how does it feel? If it feels like, "Oh, this feels like me," it feels true, it feels like I'm at home, or it feels like I'm in flow, or again, various different languages, but I think we feel it when we're in it, and then we go, "Ooh." And I was doing a lot of coaching before of nurses like, write down when you feel that because it's not about nursing, that's just the role within which you're doing it now. But those feelings and those ways of being or that skill that you're using right then, like transferable skills, we can use them anywhere, but it's really beginning to kind of, yeah, doing a bit of an inventory of like, when do I feel like that? And then doing that more. And then just doing a big old experiment because that's what life is at the end of the day.
1000%. Yes.
Oh my God, Kara, that has been so brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me. And thanks everyone for watching. And we'll have another inspiring conversation very soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Claire.